it's Nicole, and today I'm bringing you my February wrap-up. I'm actually quite proud of myself. I read 12 books in the month of February. That was 3 more books than I read in January, and it was a shorter month, so I'm very proud of myself. Some of them are, you know, quite large. Most of them are over 400 pages. Since we have so many books to go over, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. The first books I read in the month of February were the Disciples series by Izzy Sweet and Sean Moriarty. The first one is Keeping Lily. Second one is Stealing Amy. Third one is Buying Beth. And this is a very dark, twisted, erotic romance series. There is one more coming out, I think, in the next couple of months, by summer, I believe. And I'm really looking forward to that one because the series did really pick up for me. The third one is by far my favorite so far, and I'm really looking forward to the fourth one because the character whose story we're getting is very interesting. You see him throughout the entire series and you're like, what is your story? So very excited for that one, but definitely not for the faint of heart. There are some very triggering moments in the book. This series definitely tiptoes on the line between force and consent. So, which is kind of why I didn't really enjoy the first 2. Fourth book, so that was 3 books. Fourth book I read in the month of February was Halo by Alexandra Adornetto. I think that's how you say it. I've had this book for like years, and since I'm doing my A to Z 2018 TBR, I'm trying to read through all the books that I have, like A to Z by author, so this was what I picked up next, and it's about a trio of angels that come down to help out this small town who has been experiencing some very dark and dangerous situations, and they are charged with helping this town. It took a while for me to read this because I kept having to put it down and then read something else. Once I started getting into it, it actually is a very quick read. Overall, I gave it 3.5 stars, I think, 3 stars. It was kind of just a meh book for me, your typical YA, very similar to like Twilight, but with angels. I think there's 3 books, it's a trilogy. I'm not going to move on to the second 2 just yet, even though I do have the second one. I'm probably just going to continue on with other books. Next book I read in the month of February was Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I buddy read this with Rhiannon at Crescent Moon Reads and Dayton over at the first chapter, and I had such a blast reading this with them. We all love this book. I gave it 5 stars. I think we're going to buddy read God's Grave together as well, so expect that in coming wrap-ups. I actually kind of want to do a review for this. It's just, my mind is just so blown with this book. I really have to get my thoughts together, but I absolutely loved it. Dark, twisted, not for the faint of heart, but a definite wild ride. Next book I read was The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Better. This was a book that I read for my In Real Life book club. It is a Alice in Wonderland retelling, and again, it was kind of a meh book for me. I gave it 3 stars. Not going to continue on with this series because it actually wrapped up fairly nice for me in this book, and I'm not really interested in continuing on. But there is the graphic novel series that I definitely want to get into. Next book I read was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I read this book for my new Romantics at Heart book club that I co-host with Angela over at Books Are My Heart. We are actually going to be doing a live stream discussion of this book March 6th. Definitely come check it out so we can talk all about this. It was such a wonderful book. Gave it 4.5 stars. Next book I read in the month of February was Chill Factor by Sandra Brown. This was a reread for me, but it had been a while. I buddy read this with Kelsey at Hardback Haven, and my friend, my co-hostess with the co-hostess, Jen. We had a great time. Kelsey read a lot of Sandra Brown in the past. She definitely wanted to get back into reading Sandra Brown because she is a great author. And for Jen, this was her first Sandra Brown book, and we all loved it. I gave this book 5 stars. It's a suspense romance book, and it's just fantastic. The whodunit was done great. You were definitely surprised. Lots of twists and turns, and of course, a happily ever after. Next book that I read was The Miss of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. I buddy read this with Samantha Leanne over at Samantha Leanne. Look, this book is huge. I mean, it's because there are 4 books in this. It's like a 4-book compilation. This is the King Arthur's tale, but told through the perspective of the women of the court. It's definitely slower than the Arthurian tales that you're used to, just because you don't get a lot of the action-packed scenes, like of the battles and hunting for the Grail and things like that, just because the women weren't really a part of those big battles. So you kind of hear about them, but like on the back end, or just the women hear it in passing, so that's how you kind of know what's going on. But for a book that is this big and for it to be as slow moving as it was, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, just because I really love Arthurian mythology. But if you do pick this up, beware, it is slow moving. Next book I read was Lending a Paw by Lori Cass. I actually listened to this on audio for the Cozy Mystery Book Club. There was already the live stream for it, which I will link in the description below if you want to watch the discussion between Angela over at Books in My Heart and Courtney over at Cortagonist. I ended up getting this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. The ending was kind of underwhelming for me, and there are just some parts in this book that I found very annoying, especially listening to the audio, because there is this one character who is a main character. His name is Eddie. He is a cat that is the cat of our main character, Minnie, and he does this meow, but it's not really a meow, it's more like a murr, and that's exactly how it sounds in the audiobook. And like there's just this one scene in particular that Minnie and Eddie are going back and forth. Minnie is talking to Eddie and Eddie is talking to Minnie, legit talking to Minnie, and like murr, murr, murr every 5 minutes, and it drove me crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. I am going crazy. But everything else about this book was really good. Minnie is a small town librarian who is in charge of the Bookmobile, which is basically like a book bus that drives to the outer skirts of the town to bring books to those who don't have them readily accessible. I love that. That's actually like a dream job for me, and that was really interesting and made me actually want to look and investigate to see if there's any bookmobiles in Phoenix. I don't think so, but it would be really cool. Overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This was a book that I read for my In Real Life book club, and I loved this book. Really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of, you know, similar to Night Circus. I believe Night Circus was definitely a better read for me, but you do have that kind of same feel. You go to the Caraval to play a game and you win a prize, and lots of twists and turns. The tag in this book is, remember, it's only a game. Like, none of it is real, but you want to believe it's real so bad. You're like, and I found myself like telling myself, remember, this isn't real. Like, this is not real. No matter what you read, what you experience, it's not real. But by the end of the book, I was shook. I was excited for the second book to come out, Legendary. I can't remember off the top of my head when it's coming out now, but I believe it's about Donatella, and I really didn't like her in this book, so I'm not very excited to read that book. Maybe when it comes out a little later, her annoyingness will have passed from this book, and curiosity will get the better of me. So I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Her Mountain Baby Daddies by Madison Faye. It's actually the 3rd book in the series, and funny thing, I did end up finishing the series, but I read it completely backwards. I read the 3rd one first, then the 2nd one, and then the 1st one. So I like the 3rd one the best, so I started off at the high note, and then it just kind of got progressively worse. But, so if you read this series and start off with the 1st one, the series is going to get better for you. I believe there is going to be a 4th book, because there is one more character that is mentioned in this series but doesn't have a book yet, so I'm not sure when that's going to come out, but I really enjoyed it. It's another erotic romance series full of insta-love and happily ever afters. This 3rd one is a male-female menage book, so if that does not interest you, I probably wouldn't pick it up, but I really liked it. So those are all the books that I read in the month of February. I cannot believe I read 12 books. I think on my Goodreads challenge, I'm like 18 books ahead of schedule, because my goal is to read 25 books this year, so I am well on my way to finishing my Goodreads challenge in this first 3-month period of the year. And if you read any of these books, please comment below and tell me how you liked them. If you have any book recommendations for me for March, please let me know. Don't forget to like my video if you did, give me a thumbs up, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms. The links will be in the description box below. I'll see you next time, avid readers.